Hey, everybody. Welcome to Breakfast All Day. Christy, Alonso, we're a little early this week because tomorrow is Thanksgiving and we all deserve a holiday. But we are coming in today, Wednesday the 24th, with some reviews and some news. And then we'll be popping in later in the week for all of our wonderful Patreon folks. We have a brunch just for you on Friday. So, keep on the lookout for that.
Leftovers. You can eat that stuffing cold straight out of the casserole dish on Friday.
Oh, absolutely. That's
no one's gonna judge you.
That's really, I think, better than Thanksgiving is Thanksgiving leftovers. I think Thursday is really just a grand excuse so that Friday can happen.
It tastes better the next day, doesn't it? Like cold the next day.
Of course.
What are you doing for Thanksgiving tomorrow?
Keeping it small, but Dave's doing a turkey and the whole thing, and I've seen a sweet potato pie come out of the oven that is pretty breathtaking, so that's exciting. What about you guys?
I bet it smells really good in your apartment right now. So Chris has to work. Nick and I are going to go to a friend's family's house, one of his good school friends and her family. They are listeners of our show. Hello, Leslie and Jason. And we're going to go to their house, and they have a big extended family that's all nearby. Fun. So we're going to go and do that and have indoor, outdoor seating and enjoy multiple pies and things like that. So we will do that. But there are a ton of big movies opening this week. We're going to have reviews of Licorice Pizza, House of Gucci, Encanto. We're going to catch up with Tick Tick Boom. So there's all of that, but we have some news, but quick little news thing for you. And so we're going to talk about Ridley Scott's House of Gucci later on, but there's another movie that he had that came out earlier this year called The Last Duel, which our good friend Katie Walsh came on here to help me talk about. So Ridley Scott thinks that the reason that The Last Duel did not do well at the box office is because of millennials and because they need to have things fed to them on their phone in order for them to care.
I love when people north of 80 throw millennials around like they have a sharp idea of what that word even means. My favorite Twitter response was somebody who was like, I'm a millennial and this is the phone that I spent much of my life looking at. It was like an old, like sort of Nokia, the screen that you had to like punch the numbers to get to letters when you were texting.
Oh.
Later generations, I think, are getting their content off of phones. Look, there's a lot of reasons why that movie did not burn down the box office. First of all, it's about intense subject matter. It's a movie about a sexual assault, right? And I mean that plays a key role in the plot. And it came out at a time when I think a lot of the target audience of R-rated dramas like that weren't going back into theaters yet.
Yeah, I would argue also that it wasn't marketed in a way that indicated what it's really about, because they make it look like it's a Ridley Scott like gladiator type
like a
movie.
Jousting movie,
like it's a whole lot of action, and there's like a jousting scene at the beginning and there's like a jousting scene at the end, but it's not. It's a Rashomon structured story about a sexual assault, and you see it from three different people's perspectives. And Matt Damon and Ben Affleck have horrible hair and facial hair, and they co-wrote their sections of the script. And then Nicole Holofcener wrote the section from the woman's perspective, from Jodie Comer's perspective, and it's really good. And it's funny and shocking, and there are really observant little details as far as how it plays out differently in every person's remembrance of it. And it's not the movie that it looks like it is.
Well, and I don't think it got marketed all that much anyway. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say, I didn't even know this movie existed. And I agree, because I mean, like, from where I watch TV or stuff on the internet, like, obviously, yes, we get emails from publicists and stuff, but I also get to have a fairly good idea of what's being promoted to the public, what people are seeing ads for, where trailers are popping up. And that movie was not, I don't think, pushed very hard. And it is a Fox title that Disney inherited. And there is often, I think, there's a track record of studios being kind of like, the old bosses made that happen, we'll just sort of dump it. And so even though Ridley Scott is saying, oh no, the studio backing was great, I think there's a case to be made that it was a very under-marketed film on top of the other stuff I mentioned.
Right. Like what do we do with this thing here? Probably, you know how I first heard about this movie was because Jennifer Lopez was posting about it a lot on Instagram, because she went to Venice with Ben Affleck to help promote it and do red carpet and bring attention to it. And so I saw, there she is on the red carpet at the premiere of The Last Duel, but really it's like a picture of how fantastic she looks in her form-fitting dress. Like it's like this low angle from like down and behind her of her ass and some fantastic dress that she looks stunning in. But there's also a movie premiere going.
4 paragraphs down the mission. Oh, it was The Last Duel.
Hashtag The Last Duel.
Also, like that movie premiered in the back end of Venice, which by that point of the festival, most of the international press, at least most of the US based press, has left because Telluride's happening and Toronto's happening. So like if you want to sneak out into the world and not have as many people notice, open in the back half of the Venice Film Festival.
There are a lot of things to point to, but not millennials. I mean, he probably thinks, Ridley Scott, legendary filmmaker, he's 83 years old. He probably thinks that you and I are millennials.
Exactly. That's I mean, these generational divides are sort of questionable anyway, but he's absolutely not nailing it if he's talking about millennials.
Yes. So we'll talk about House of Gucci later on, which like of the movies he has out this year, The Last Duel is the better one.
I believe you. I haven't even seen The Last Duel, and I'm going to say yes, that is absolutely true.
We can all agree on this. So a movie that caused a bit of a stir several years ago, The Danish Girl.
Yes.
Eddie Redmayne starred in The Danish Girl and was nominated for an Academy Award for it, is now saying in retrospect that he wouldn't have taken that role, that the film was made with the best of intentions, but now with some hindsight and some different perspective and clarity, he recognizes the inherent problematic nature of a straight man playing a trans female. Okay. Yeah. That's a better way to phrase that. Yeah. So anyway, he's looking back on that now. What do you think about that?
I think that's valid. And again, I think a thing to keep in mind is, it's very easy to get mad on the internet about things and sort of not take into account like the way that history moves forward. And yeah, this is in the recent past. And by that point, there certainly was, I think, a lot of, conversation in the public sphere about trans characters, and cis actors and trans actors being allowed to tell their own stories. But I think even in the years since The Danish Girl came out, that conversation has gone much further. You've seen like the Scarlett Johansson incident and other stuff like that. So yes, he's absolutely right. He probably shouldn't have taken that role. But I think that it's also, I think, fair to say that even when The Danish Girl came out, the level of conversation about this very topic is not nearly where it is right now. But that doesn't excuse the choice. And I do think, I do think that film was made with the best intentions, and they were trying to, I'm sure they would tell you, well, to get the financing, we had to have a name. And, that is a conversation that has also evolved, I think, since then. So, good on him for saying that. I've certainly never heard Jared Leto say that.
Yeah. And what was that really good documentary we watched and talked about?
I knew until you asked me.
Right. I'm so sorry. It was really good. We talked about it here on the show.
Yes.
Trans something.
No. What's the trans doc on Netflix about trans images? Disclosure.
Yes. Right. Thank you. That was really good. And The Danish Girl was one of the many examples of, actors taking these kinds of roles and how there is like an inherent prestige factor in awards, ambitions quite frequently, like, oh, they're so brave.
But, I think that unfortunately what casting cis actors in trans roles does is perpetuate a false narrative that these people are really the gender they were born into. And also that trans people are somehow like trying to pull one over on you and like masquerading or something, and so again, I think films like Disclosure have really moved the conversation forward. And I'm thrilled that it's out there, and I think that you're seeing a lot more responsible casting now, and a lot more people are not hewing to these old paradigms where it was like, well, we'll get this guy and we'll put some makeup on him and it'll be great, so I'm glad he's talking about it.
I'm glad that somebody of that stature is making that they have the the humility to go back and acknowledge, like, okay, perhaps this wasn't the
Maybe
best
I shouldn't
idea.
have. Yeah.
Right. Will Smith is talking about his sex life in his new memoir. And when are he and Jada not? But this revelation in his memoir has been sort of getting the Twitter world abuzz. And it's about orgasms. And it's about how when his first love, I guess, dumped him, it was an ugly breakup, and he reacted. It's not Jada, it's a woman long before Jada. That he reacted by having sex with a lot of women and did it so much with so many people that eventually, like, having an orgasm created this like psychosomatic revulsion in him. And he would have a reaction to it. And it just, like, he would feel physically nauseous and or nauseated, rather, I guess is the word. Anyway, I don't know that I need to know all that. I don't know why he's putting that out there now.
Speaking of Twitter, this is that meme of no one, absolutely no one, Will Smith, he's got a memoir out, and this is what he wants to share with the world. So, he's going to share it. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of other stuff in that book that is more interesting and less salacious, and it's not going to get picked up by a million people on social media. So, if he's selling books, then good on him. He's always been a very canny promoter of his own.
Yes. And he and Jada have always been very candid about their sex life, their marriage.
Yes.
This is just one more step in that. So I guess we shouldn't be shocked by any of this.
Yeah, he likes to share.
There you go. Maybe we're all better off for it.
Perhaps
we too can tap into our own issues.
It could change someone's life, And look, I'm certainly in the grander sense in favor of more conversation about this stuff in the public sphere than less. So
Have you heard the new Kid Rock song?
I have not, but I do love the Weird Al Yankovic tweet about it.
Right. This is not a parody that I wrote. It totally plays like a parody of a Kid Rock song. Now, he name checks like Bruce Springsteen and says he's the boss. And basically every other line, it's so lazy. Every other line is like, motherfucker and suck my dick and I'm, Detroit till I die.
Doesn't he talk about like participation trophies or something when his good buddy Donald Trump got a 4th degree Taekwondo black belt this week?
Yes, an honorary Taekwondo black belt degree. Yeah, it's just really bad. I watched, like, there's a 1.5-minute clip of that I saw on Twitter, and the video is just like him hanging out in like a dive bar with true patriots and talking about the First Amendment, and if you trample on our First Amendment, we'll be sure and get to the second one. And there's a picture of him with like a rifle on his shoulder. And it's like, I never thought I would see Kid Rock rapping about the Bill of Rights, but here he is.
Isn't Kid Rock like sort of performatively redneck in the way like the Duck Dynasty guys are? Like, doesn't he come from wealth or something?
Yes. It's all an act.
Yeah. Shut up, Kid Rock.
Bob is not Detroit till I die. Bob is not
And it's amazing how many people get away with this grift. I mean, have you ever seen a clip of Larry the Cable Guy before he became Larry the Cable Guy?
No.
He's just like some bro in a Hawaiian shirt, like doing terrible stand-up comedy. And then he like finds this persona and he suddenly like, real America can't get enough of it. The Duck Dynasty guys are like rich preppies.
Are you saying that Larry the Cable Guy doesn't actually know how to fix the cable?
I think even Larry the Cable Guy, part of the persona is that he doesn't know how to fix the cable. But nonetheless, the actual
it's ironic.
Guy, yes, but the guy playing him doesn't either.
Anyway, that is out there for your guffaws over the holiday. So on General Hospital, a show that I have not watched since Luke and Laura days, there are a couple of actors who have been booted because they won't get vaccinated.
Oh,
have you seen this?
I have, and adios.
Steve Burton, who has been on the show since like 1991, I want to say, has been fired for refusing to get vaccinated. I guess on Friday, they had his character die by having a tunnel collapse on him.
As you do.
I mean, not that that ever really means death.
No, of course.
You know, how many times did Marlena get resurrected on Days of Our Lives? You
naturally. There's always twins and clones and whatnot.
So he got booted, but this is the second person. The first one, and if I am mispronouncing your last name, sir, I apologize. Ingo, is it Rademacher?
I think it's Rademacher.
Okay,
I think.
Rademacher. Not only would not get the vaccine, but he was posting all kinds of anti-vax propaganda on his Twitter and some transphobic memes. And then as our good friend LaToya Morgan retweeted, someone put a picture of him, or posted a picture of him on set, like in a scene, sitting next to a Black woman actress, and he's doing the white power symbol on his leg. Sitting next to her, like the little like okay sign, but being, reappropriated as a white power.
I mean,
anyway,
did these guys not realize how lucky they are to still be working in soaps? Like soaps are all but dead now. There's like General Hospital. I know they're doing like a Days of Our Lives thing on Peacock that a bunch of people are coming back for, including Allison Sweeney. But like there's, the afternoon TV used to have like a ton of soaps, and now we're down to like 2 or 3 at best. So it's like, you're gonna rock the boat this much on a it's not like you're gonna go run over to The Bold and the Beautiful or Another World, because those shows aren't on anymore.
I think it's like, I think it's General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, Young and the Restless,
maybe,
and One Life to Live. I think those are the only ones that exist. Did you ever watch soaps when you were in like high school or college?
I've had moments. The summer between high school and college, I started watching Santa Barbara because it started, and I thought it'd be fun to watch a soap from the beginning. And that was my first exposure to Robin Wright. So, and then I watched One Life to Live, I think, when young Ryan Phillippe played a closeted high school swimmer, and there was a whole plot that wound up with the quilt coming to Landview. And then years later on, maybe it was Another World, there was a like the it couple of the soap with these 2 gay guys, and it was Luke and Noah, and they were known, their portmanteau was Nuke. And so I watched that towards the end, and that's actually the first time I ever saw Billy Magnuson.
Oh, yeah. It's a fertile breeding ground for actors, right?
It is our like RADA soaps, So many people come out of that world. It's crazy.
Well, think about all the work it takes to memorize all that dialogue every day, right?
Hundreds of pages a day they're cranking out.
And it changes like that. Anyway, I used to watch General Hospital around, the early 80s, the whole Luke and Laura phase. And then I watched Days of Our Lives in college. But, it's time consuming. And I have covered the daytime Emmys, and it's hilarious because the people who are like the entrenched reporters for the soap opera digest type publications, when they ask a question backstage of whoever the winner is, it's like, Jason, congratulations. So thrilled for you. When you and I spoke last week, you suggested that winning this award might do such and such for your career. And they're all trying to like one up each other to show how schmoozy they are with these soap stars. It's hilarious.
It was great though. By the way, speaking of actors who came from soaps, when Another World was ending, Julianne Moore came back like on the last week of the show, having played twins on that show. She showed up like for some like family reunion thing. I was like, good on you, Julianne Moore.
You knew where you came from. Yes. Anyway, so that is happening. So, there are rules about being on set as of like November 1st. There are shooting rules for being vaccinated. So they are enforcing that on the set of General Hospital. The Grammy nominations came out this week, which of course there's like 1,000 categories.
Yes.
But Jon Batiste, the jazz pianist who is the band leader for Colbert on his nighttime show, he has the most nominations with 11, a few of which are for his work on the movie Soul.
Oh, nice.
The Pixar film Soul, which is so beautiful, which won the Oscar this past year for original score.
Right.
So he got a whole bunch. Lady Gaga, who we'll talk about later on in House of Gucci, Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett got 5, but then acts like, BTS and Taylor Swift only got 1. And Abba, your friends Abba got their first Grammy nomination ever.
Hooray!
How is that possible? It's taken like 50 years for that to happen.
The Grammys are nuts. I mean, there's so many things you can point to. It's like, oh yes, we gave our first heavy metal Grammy to Jethro Tull, and And like, you know, the Beatles lost to like didn't get nominated the year that Volare won Best Song. I guess it's a very checkered history. What I found kind of hilarious was that there were nominations this year for Dave Chappelle and Louis C.K. So just another reminder that cancel culture doesn't exist.
No. Oh, and there was an article, some interview with Kevin Hart where he was defending Dave Chappelle, saying like, I know what's in his heart, and I know that he has great love in his heart for the LGBT community, and this is just wrong.
That's great. I love it when millionaires stick up for each other.
Right, because cancel culture came for Kevin Hart too. And somehow he still seems to work somehow.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Chappelle mentions Kevin Hart in the whole thing. He didn't get to host the Oscars. Like, yeah, that really has damaged his career that is raking in gajillions of dollars every year.
He'll be fine. Also, one other little tidbit on the Grammy nominations, Jay-Z is now the most nominated musician ever with 83 nominations.
Wow.
There you go. He'll be fine. There was a big cover story in Esquire about Keanu Reeves. You want to get your Keanu fix of him in lots of cozy sweaters and overcoats and scarves. He looks very handsome.
Is there a dog? Did they also put in a dog?
There's not a dog in these. There's not.
Do I have to think of everything?
Yeah, that would have been a pretty easy little tie-in there with whatever John Wick universe stuff is coming at us. But there's a new Matrix movie coming out.
Yes.
Is it next month?
Yeah, I think it's opening like the week before Christmas.
Okay.
The Matrix Resurrections.
Yeah. So that
have we heard about screenings? We have not.
We've not. But then like weirdly, we got this whole thing with like, here are all of your Warner Brothers screeners in this handy place where you can watch them. And among them was this Matrix movie. But then I guess when you click on it, there's nothing.
Oh, I didn't get that email, so you'll have to share that with me.
I will. But what's weird is like, I don't want to watch The Matrix that way. Like, I'm shocked that they would even consider showing The Matrix that way.
I suspect it's like that year that the empty Dunkirk DVD case, remember?
Oh.
Where you opened it up and it told you where all the screenings were.
Wah, wah, wah.
Exactly.
So basically this article confirms what we had always hoped about Keanu Reeves, which is that he is lovely and thoughtful, and it has interviews with his co-stars and friends like Carrie Ann Moss and Sandra Bullock, and just what a wonderful gentleman, and Winona Ryder. So if you want something warm and cozy, the Keanu piece.
He's like Dolly Parton. Like no one has anything bad to say about Keanu Reeves.
Well, one thing that Sandra Bullock pointed out, which I thought was a really sweet kind of anecdote, was that he really listens. Like you'll have a conversation with him and he'll sit there quietly and he'll listen. And then like 2 days later, he'll come back to you, like he'll send something to your house, like a book or something that is relevant to the conversation you were having. And like, I was thinking of you, I wanted to send this to you, that kind of thing. So he listens and he's thoughtful and he's deep. There you go. And sexy. So there's all that. So if you want a little bit of cozy with Keanu, that is out there for you. Speaking of cozy, there is going to be a Clifford sequel. Hooray. We never watched. I never saw this most recent Clifford. Did you?
I did not, but apparently it is the most viewed movie on Paramount Plus, which is granted not the highest of bars since Paramount Plus has only been around for a few months, but you know, that's enough to greenlight a sequel. I guess that's what it takes.
I tried to get Nick to hate watch it with me just to make fun of it, and he wouldn't do it. Time is precious.
What is the point of having children if they're not going to do the things you ask them to do?
Like making his bed, things like that. And then finally, while we keep following this, the Q people gathered once again in Dealey Plaza, but this time there was like a specific date that made it relevant, and that is November 22nd. That is the anniversary of JFK being assassinated in Dallas. In Dealey Plaza. And so they gathered upon this day thinking, okay, like, come on, guys, of all the days on the calendar, surely JFK Jr. will show up on this day, right?
And what are they looking for, like the black helicopter that's going to deliver him? Like, through what manner of conveyance he's supposed to arrive at Dealey Plaza?
Hopefully not a convertible.
I was going to say, not in a stretch limo with a rag top, I hope.
No, I mean, nothing about it makes sense, but you know, they tried again. Oh, one more thing for you. We keep talking about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has what's known as COVID toe. Right.
What
so
he
has come back from COVID because as we know, he won't get vaccinated. And it's a thing. It is a symptom of when you are infected where like the toes get like really painful and purple. Yeah.
That could be a problem for a professional athlete,
Right.
would it not?
Right. You gotta like put your
Yeah.
foot down, like plant your foot and like throw the ball or
Yeah.
like run. Perhaps you run.
Perhaps you stop
anyway.
being an idiot and get vaccinated.
Right.
I don't
So
know.
so he has that.
Yoy.
COVID toe. Let's all avoid COVID toe this
COVID
Christmas,
toe.
shall we?
Ugh, I hadn't heard about that.
Socks. Or maybe there are like specific socks that like anti-vaxxers will knit to make the feet cozy of those who have COVID toe.
Exactly, and the ivermectin's right into the weave pattern anyway.
That's all I got for you.
Okay, no, that was plenty for a midweek. For a holiday week, that's a lot of news. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And hey, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We're digging into The Great on Hulu, kicking off our coverage of Hawkeye on Disney Plus, and this week on our Off the Menu segment, which our subscribers voted for us. The food movie that they picked for us to talk about this month is Jon Favreau's Chef. So all that's happening later this week and throughout the year on Patreon. You should become a member at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Thanks for watching. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next time. Bye.